Welcome my dear listeners, stay with me to get the spoilers first and subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on Royal Family. Why the York family didn't come to the Royal Easter 2026. The Royal Family's Easter gathering at St. George's Chapel in Windsor usually follows a familiar pattern. The King and Queen arrive, followed by senior working royals, and then the crowds gather. The public gets a small but meaningful look at how the family is united. The picture looked different this year. King Charles III and Queen Camilla led the service on Easter Sunday, April 5, 2026. The Prince and Princess of Wales, their children Princess Anne, Prince Edward and other senior royals were also there. But the York family wasn't there, and people noticed right away that they weren't. For a family that has often been on the fringes of royal life instead of in the middle of it, missing Easter was not just a matter of a choice. It showed how far the Yorks have moved away from the public-facing heart of the monarchy. For months, the group that is usually linked to the branch of the family, former Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, has been under a lot of scrutiny. Their absence from one of the royal year's most well-known traditions made that tension even clearer. The best way to explain things is to start with Andrew. Reuters said that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who used to be Prince Andrew but lost his royal titles in October 2025, but did not go to the Easter service. He was kicked out after years of scandal involving Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew's arrest in February 2026 on suspicion of wrongdoing in public office. The royal family made the choice to keep him away from the Windsor gathering as part of their larger effort to keep the monarchy separate from the problems surrounding him. The same thing happened with Sarah Ferguson's absence. People said that the former Duchess of York was also noticeably missing from Easter, even though she had gone to the same service with the family the year before. The reason wasn't a sudden personal rift, but rather the ongoing fallout from Andrew's scandal and the renewed pressure from new public interest in Epstein-related material. In real life, her presence would have kept the York story in the news all day, which is exactly what the palace seemed to want to avoid. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are the more sensitive parts of the story. Reuters said that the sisters would not be going to Easter this year and that it was their choice, not the king's. Later, people said that they had made other plans for the holiday with the king's permission. That makes it seem like a punishment for the sisters to be missing, and more like a careful way to get away from a very hot spotlight. Still, the timing tells its own story. When the York parents are in the news for something bad, their daughters often move slowly to keep their own families from getting caught up in the fallout. Beatrice and Eugene had been the other family events recently, like Christmas in December 2025, so that caution is important. People and Reuters both said that just because they weren't there for Easter didn't mean they would never be able to go back. Instead, the reports say that they are stepping back from the spotlight for a short time, not leaving completely. Still, for a family that is already linked to the scandal surrounding Andrew, stepping back from a major public service only made the people think that the York branch is trying to survive by hiding. The difference from last year made the absence seem even more noticeable. People said that in 2025, Andrew, Sarah, Beatrice and Eugene all went to Easter service. They were none of them there in 2026. That change shows how quickly the royal atmosphere can change when the institution thinks that the association itself has become a problem. What was okay one year becomes weird the next. What was okay in the background is now impossible to ignore in the foreground. The arrest of Andrew in February 2026 was a big turning point. According to Reuters, he was arrested on suspicion of misconduct on public office because of claims that he gave Jeffrey Epstein private information while working as a UK trade envoy. That even made it even more clear that the York's public appearances had become too politically and emotionally charge for the rest of the family to handle easily. When Easter came around, the palace seemed to choose control over being uncomfortable together. There is also the issue of how people see things. The royal family talks to the public through who comes, who stays at home, and who is quietly allowed to choose different paths, even if they don't make a formal statement about every invitation. Reuters said that the sisters chose not to go, but that choice still exists in the context of a monarchy trying to protect its image from being embarrassed over and over again. In that way, the York family's empty chairs at Easter weren't just empty chairs. They were part of a bigger message about limits. It is also important not to read too much into what the sisters say. People say that Beatrice and Eugene will be at future royal events, and that just because they weren't at Easter doesn't mean they won't be at other events later. That little difference is important. They don't work for the royal family, and most people think they are less involved in the senior working numbers of the family. So their absence was best understood as a step back from a very public moment rather than a permanent exit from royal life. The setting only made the difference darker. The rest of the family looked more stable while the Yorks were away. Reuters said that William, Catherine, and their kids, as well as Edward and Anne, were with Charles and Camilla. AP and people both wrote about how the Wales family came back to Easter after being gone for a few years. This made the service feel like a time of healing for the monarchy's main branch. Because of that visual unity, the absence of York stood out even more. In royal life, being absent is almost never just being absent. It can mean being careful, feeling embarrassed, being disciplined, disagreeing, or just protecting yourself. It looks like public service. That means all of those things for the York family, and Drew's scandals made him unfit for public service. Sarah's connection to the same cloud made her presence uncomfortable, and Beatrice and Eugene, who were not accused of wrongdoing, seems to have chosen to stay away from the storm while it is still going on. That is why Royal Easter 2026 felt so open. It wasn't just about who was there, it was about who no longer fit well into the picture the palace wanted to show the public. The York family's absence was the clearest sign yet that the monarchy is trying to limit the damage by limiting the number of people who can see its most important traditions. The royal walk, the Easter service, and the institution all still looked calm. But the Yorks who weren't there told their own story. The reason they missed Easter was simple to say but hard to understand. Andrew's scandals made it possible for him to be there. Sarah's connection to the fallout made it hard to let her go. Beatrice and Eugene knew their parents were under a lot of stress, so they decided to spend the holiday somewhere else with the king's blessing. The family did not go away, it just stepped back because being too close to the spotlight would have burnt it. And maybe that's the part people don't say out loud. This wasn't just about Easter. It was about survival. Because when a royal family starts choosing who not no to, and honestly that feels something deeper about British royal family. It protects itself quietly but very firmly. I can't help but feel this wasn't a temporary pause. It felt like a line being drawn, not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly enough for everyone watching to understand. Because when empty spaces speak louder than appearances, something bigger is shifting behind the scenes. And here's the question that stays with me. Was this about protecting the crown or slowly redefining who truly belongs inside it? And even more importantly, how long can a family stay united when parts of it keep stepping out of the frame? Looking ahead, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more carefully managed appearances, fewer risks, and a much tighter circle around the king. Because once the monarchy starts choosing control over closeness, it rarely goes back easily. So What do you think? Is this just a moment of distance or the start of a permanent change for the York family? And if the door quietly closes, will it ever fully open again? Stay with me because the next royal appearance might reveal more than any official statement ever could.